Now, here we are in the second half of our programme. We've got the Betfred Super League Round 6-7 debrief, and we start off our coverage with the last game to be played behind closed doors. The Leeds Rhinos downing Wakefield Trinity 15 points to 13 in an unusual scoreline.
It very much was a very unusual scoreline, but Wakefield did give it to Leeds Rhinos, and it could have been an upset on the cards, you could say.
Well, for the first win of the season, I definitely think any time Wakefield try and get a win would be an upset at this stage.
But it was just it went into golden point extra time. And it was just that, unfortunately, Wakefield gave away a penalty, which led to Reece Martin slotting over the penalty goal.
I think the influence of Luke Gale is something Leeds Rhinos have definitely missed over the last few weeks as he's been in and out with injury.
Mate, it looked like he wasn't going to. It looked like he was going to go for a drop goal. Then it looked like he's going to pass it, but then somehow he just ran a couple steps and then had just enough room to slot it over. So it was a pretty, you could say, intense moment for Luke Gale, whether or not he was going to get the drop goal in or not. But in the end, it was.
Definitely what was the case, and the right edge of the Rhinos was definitely Well, I wouldn't say it was humming, but it definitely stood tall. Or both with Reece Martin crashing over at close range, and then beautiful work through the hair and to set Conrad Harrell up on his way to the bag. Another try at Emerald Headingley Stadium.
Yes, it very much was. So, Conrad Harrell, wherever he goes, he scores practically. Whether it's here in Australia or over in England, he just scores. He's just a try scoring machine. And when a team plays, he's got a good team around him that also helps the confidence and all that. So.
Definitely. I mean, they're still down on troops. Don't get any of us wrong, but it's finally clicked for Leeds.
Finally, yes. So they could maybe turn around this season and start shooting up the ladder even more and scare the top end of town.
I definitely won't think it scares the top end, but it definitely makes them more competitive, especially if they can get Robert Louis back. Jack Walker's probably a long gone prospect.
Yeah. Well, I don't know when Robert Louis is due back, but if he's back within the next, hopefully next month, it will come alive.
As for Wakefield, though, Mason Leno, he's definitely settled in to a struggling Wakefield side, but he's still playing very well.
He's like one of the star players that a struggling side, Mason Leno. With 5 to go, he got a penalty goal to make it level. So that would have really been good boost for his team to try and get beyond Leeds. But in the end, it didn't happen. He got an earlier penalty goal as well. So he had a reasonable nod off the boot. Like, he took the penalty goals where the opportunities came, and it just came. As we know, the final result was just a little bit short in the end, which is unfortunate.
All right, that penalty that sealed the win for Leeds. Do you think that was fair call, or do you think there was a mistake made with the held and the strip?
I'd say if they could held then strip the ball, well, yeah, it is a penalty, but if it was a one-on-one strip, well, then it was a bit unfair, but it could have gone either way. But I feel like that Leeds would have got, if that penalty hadn't occurred, Leeds would have got a try anyway, or not a try, at least a try at the most chances, or they would have got a field goal, a drop goal anyway. So in the end, Leeds won, but it was a bit 50-50
scrappy.
Call. Yeah, a bit 50-50 call for that penalty.
Well, something that wasn't much of a 50-50 call and played in front of a small crowd. Hull FC, though, they went down to the Catalan Dragons 27 points to 10.
Yes, good to see crowds finally back over filling up stadiums. And it wasn't a massive crowd, but it's a start of something.
Oh, well, I suppose it'll get better because, I mean, 66% of Brits already have their first jab, and 34% have got the second jab as well. So the vaccination effort is running smoothly at the moment in the United Kingdom, and I would think the decision would probably be made to up capacity crowds once certain vaccination goals I would think it could reach. But getting back to the game, Hull started out on fire.
They definitely did. It looked like that though could have, like they continue on their form that they've had been going on over the last few weeks, which has been good.
There was just some silky involvement from Jake Connor, both for Mahe for Noah, and to back it up for Josh Reynolds.
Yes, who he scored too, Josh Reynolds, which I think was his first.
I think it was his second or third try in Hull colours.
So very minimal tries he's had, but he's getting involved in the game more than what he had been at the start of the season, I feel.
This was a tight contest, but Catalan were able to run away with it in the final 20 minutes. And just between Sam Tompkins and James Maloney, that right edge of the Dragons really took it to Hull FC.
It definitely did, and it just showed like that side is the more dominant side than the other side, and they've just set it up quite nicely there.
Well, I mean, Mike McMeekin slicing through, I think he leaving Josh Griffin in his wake, or I think it was Josh Griffin or Mark Sneed, and then the two tries to Tom Davies off the back of Tompkins' hands.
With one of them being on the full-time siren, I think.
I think it was definitely close. But then Hull should have really cleaned up on their middle defence when the ball ricocheted off the goalposts for Sam Cassiano to score.
You think they would have, but no. It was obviously the Sam Cassiano had a quicker reaction time than what Hull FC did, and it paid off.
It definitely paid off for Steve McNamara. Coming off actually, I'm trying to remember what they came off.
I think it was a narrow victory, I believe. I can't remember against who. Or was that Challenge Cup?
No, that's right. Strong results against Wakefield Trinity in round 5.
Yeah. So back-to-back wins
in the league fixtures. So what does Brett Hodgson have to look at now after they basically conceded close to 3 tries and a dropped goal at the end of it all?
Well,
I shouldn't say 3 tries really, because that's close. But you know what I mean. Just sort of like 17 points in the back 20 minutes.
You can't say that Hull FC didn't try in that match.
Oh, there's definitely opportunities they had.
I'd say what let them down in one instant was that Sam Cassiano try. They got the ball, or then it would have been a lot better off for them. I think that's when they started going that downhill. When Cassiano scored, it kind of just was the end of, the beginning of the end, you could say, for that match in particular. Tom, I have to mention this. Tom Davies, he slid over to score his second try, but the referee also had a slide.
That's just what you love to see. You just love to see a referee fall over, don't you? Just like.
Yeah. Don't know why, but people absolutely love seeing the referee fall over. But that happened.
I blame Andrew Voss for starting that whole thing about liking the referees fall all over. But
yeah,
good.
It happened in the Super League, so it's not just in the NRL that happens.
It's universal.
Yeah, it's universal.
I just think it's just something the fans find funny that the referee takes a fall, as well as the players do.
Yeah.
Now, Huddersfield Giants downing the Warrington Wolves 26 points to 20, and I have to say, I was thoroughly surprised by the way Huddersfield started that game.
Yeah, they came out of the blocks pretty good with
Lee Gaskell
scoring 2 tries to open the points for Huddersfield. How often do you see Warrington score 2 tries?
That was honestly, to concede 3 tries in the first half, Warrington were shell-shocked.
They were.
Errors didn't help them, especially with Greg Inglis. It's in good field position. But Huddersfield, they just went to town early.
And they were up 20 points to 0.
Leading into the half-time break.
At the half-time break.
That was just an unbelievable start from the Huddersfield Giants.
How often do you see Warrington held scoreless going into at the end of the first half? It doesn't happen often at all. But it's good to see Huddersfield get over a top contender.
Oh, that's one of the top 3 sides Huddersfield have now beaten.
Well, yes, that's very much so. McGilvery's try, it was, I think, Huddersfield's or
Third try, because
that was his
Gaskell
third
scored
try.
up, and then McGilvery in the corner to bag his third try of the
But
year.
I think it was the club's 200th win or something like that, or 200. I don't know. There was a bit of a milestone.
They were talking about Jermaine McGilvery being 7th overall in Super League's top try scorers tally. That's what I believe you're referring to, that he's added another try to his all-time tally.
It could be. It could be his 200th try. I'm not quite sure. Inglis's try.
Oh, Greg Inglis, he started everything. The Warrington comeback in the second half.
It definitely is. But how that was set up, it was Woodard to Ratchford to Inglis, who went in. And then
He went off the field not long after that with a hamstring complaint, I think it was.
that's unfortunate because he could have easily got another try or two under his belt. But
Warrington were coming for Huddersfield in that second half.
they definitely were. I didn't see Huddersfield beating Warrington because, as you know, Warrington are a top side. No, it was good to see someone put a dent in the Warrington's armour. Darryl Clark's try.
Oh, beautiful long range, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. He's been pretty. He's scored in a fair few games so far this season. If I am correct, I could be wrong.
But what I did like, the setup for Josh Pulis' try, that was pure class, wasn't it? It just that beautiful right side shift that got Pulis over, and he was exposed early when Gaskell, because I felt like that was a tactic that they gained more ground against Josh Pulis' edge than they were on the other side of the field, and then for Warrington to be able to respond down that side, just to return serve, I felt that was a nice touch.
It very much was so. And what sealed it for Huddersfield was Kenny Edwards going over.
As well as desperation defence at the depth for Ian Watson's side.
Just quickly back to McGilvery's try. It was in his 250th Betfred Super League appearance. So
what a milestone.
Yeah, the score and win in his 250th match. That's a pretty good milestone to have. And you'll remember that one for a long, long time to come.
Well, something Richard Marshall would like to forget in a hurry was Salford Red Devils' performance going down to St Helens 28 points to 6.
But it was expected, though.
Oh, yeah. Totally expected.
But
when you're coming up against a side that has St and Helens in their name,
yeah, you'll be hearing alarm bells left, right, and centre.
And that definitely was the case. Alarm bells.
Well, come to half-time break, Salford was still technically in the match. They're only 6 points down.
Yeah, but then
St Helens just too classy.
Their defence just folded in half as Lachlan Coote was just scheming around that whole half. Beautiful passes. Kevin Nagama in the corner.
Not much room.
Not much room whatsoever, no. Of
But
course, Theo Farge, beautiful long range effort, making up a good team try down Salford's right edge defensively.
But that only came to fruition because Kenseo grabbed a kick and didn't get to the ball in time.
No, they didn't. And then to top it all off, Regan Grace.
It's Regan Grace. He scores
yet again. He's got to be one of Super League's best flyers going round.
No doubt.
You got Tommy Makinson, you got names like Ryan Hall, Jermaine McGilvery, but in the last 4 years, Regan Grace has probably got to be one of the game's elite wingers on that side of the world.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that. A lot of people might say it might be Makinson or someone else, but Regan Grace at this current form,
the man is a try-scoring freak. That's what he is.
He definitely is, and once he's in the mood and in the form, it's hard to stop him. St Helens could have got another try, but it was another movement.
Yes, to Aaron Smith, so that was a bit unfortunate there. But
and as we know, Jack
Wellesby's
try, that was magnificent. like a lot of tries were for St. Helens.
Now moving on, in the Battle of the Boroughs round 2, the Wigan Warriors once again had to fight back their way back into this contest as the Lee Centurions led early on, but Wigan 30 downing the Lee Centurions 16.
Well, it could have gone either way after half-time score. I mean, locked up at 16 apiece at half-time. So, look, the second half, Wigan just put the foot down. They'll just showed how good they are and why they're in the top three.
Beautiful sight from Jackson Hastings.
He's in really good career form.
The tries to Liam Farrell and one of the tries he set up for Jake Bibby, that was just this good eyes-up play from the Wigan scrum half. Yep. And then, of course, Bevan French not wanting to be missing out on the action.
No, whenever there's action, he's always in it. So he makes sure of it too, because if he didn't, well, then he would have missed out on action. But he scored. How many times did Dominic Manfredi get denied?
Dom Manfredi, I mean, he's missed a whole lot of game time due to injury, and the times he tries to get in the open space, just one pass that goes forward, and he gets let down. But he did get his chocolates in the end of it.
Yes, finally. Not long after Wigan scored their first try of the match, so he extended the Centurions' lead. Harry Smith.
Off Bevan French's. That
was
was well weighted for Harry Smith right there.
It definitely was. And he got Wigan's first try after 28 minutes of being scoreless. Like Warrington, you don't see a team like that go that long without scoring.
Well,
in some shape or form.
The Centurions put up a fight early, and they definitely went at Wigan's left edge through Anthony Gelling before coming back, just trying to move the Warriors around, and they definitely produced results out of that. But then Wigan played the same game they did, only better.
Yes, because of just how good they are. And Lee Centurions have still stuck to the bottom of the table,
but not by much.
Not by much.
Especially with the way Wakefield have been performing. But speaking of upsets, never mind Huddersfield. What about Hull Kingston Rovers, am I right? Downing the Castleford Tigers 26 points to 22.
Yes, it was a upset in a bit. Where do you start? Castleford shot out to a 20-12 lead at the half-time break. And this try scoring for Castleford was James Clare, who made his first appearance for the season, and he scored. And then down the same side as what Clare scored, Michael Shenton scored on the same side. So that left edge for Castleford was looking good to start off with, but then ultimately it didn't pay off.
And then a double from Ben Crooks, another try from Ryan Hall, just making up for lost time on all the tries he missed out on over the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's very much so. Their last try from Ben Crooks was acrobatic.
I would probably believe you. I mean, he already holds the world record in rugby league for the fastest try scored anywhere in the world.
Yes.
At 7 seconds.
2 weeks ago?
A few weeks back in their match against Huddersfield. Just, why wouldn't we be surprised that he's definitely got a home at Hull KR and as a try scorer?
Let's hope they keep Crooks there for a long, long time.
What do you think this does for Tony Smith's side? That this confidence builder that they have knocked off a really a grand final contender here, and someone who is expected really to be in the top 6. Well,
it's still a long way to go in the season, so anything can happen.
Oh yes,
but no doubt these two sides will meet again later in the season.
They definitely will.
It's good going into the next match against who's.
They're up against Warrington, Castleford.
So, well, not only that, but Hull KR. They're coming up against. let's see here. The coming up comes against Wakefield, so it's a good booster heading to a match against a team that is, you could say, struggling.
Oh, definitely big time. And that perfect segue leads us on to our round 7 predictions, and we begin in the Sunday coverage. Salford against the Wigan Warriors.
Yeah,
Ooh.
we know where that's going to go.
Look, Salford, they have got problems. And the class difference between them and the Wigan Warriors, it's just, they're in trouble.
They definitely are. And look, the highs of winning in the Challenge Cup quarterfinals, I think they won Salford. No. Well, they made the quarterfinals, I believe. I could be wrong. But they've coming up against a Wigan side that's too strong.
Yeah.
It's going to be... Salford will hopefully put up a fight, but it's going to be very, very similar to their last game.
Not to mention this will be their first home game at the AJ Bell Stadium in front onto the Salford faithful.
That is very true. But it's going to be pretty similar to what it was against St. Helens.
A near shutout performance.
Yeah, but hopefully Salford will be trying to put points on the board for the home crowd faithful.
Yeah, just to give the fans something to celebrate, even if they don't come away with the win. The way Bevan French and Jackson Hastings are performing, with the way Adrian Lamb has walked into this Wigan Warriors setup and made it his own after Sean Wayne's departure, I'm going to have to say Wigan win 13+.
Yeah, I can't go past you there. Bevan French is in good form. Jackson Hastings is playing really good footy at the moment, so you can't go past Wigan. 13+.
Also on Sunday, not shown on the Sky Sports cameras, the Warrington Wolves back at home again, this time up against the Castleford Tigers.
Well. This one could go either way. If Castleford keep up their performance that they did last week against...
It'll heavily depend how Warrington line up, because I believe Jack Hughes was only suspended for one game, so he'll obviously, if he comes back in for Steve Price, he will slide back in to the second row and enable Toby King to go one on spot wider on the edge into his centre position. Whether or not that's right or left depends on whether Greg Inglis is fit enough.
I was just about to say, is Greg Inglis if Greg Inglis plays after, like you said, he went off with a hamstring complaint. So, look, if he does play, it'll just boost, as in Inglis, he will boost the club even more. And with the return, with maybe forcing a bit of a reshuffle. See, Toby Keane, he's been playing good too. So, it's hard to not name players that are playing in good form. So, it's going to be a bit of a selection headache, but we have to wait and see.
The right edge of Castleford is, I should say left edge defensively. That would be troubling for the Castleford Tigers, especially if they get Tom Lynham back. They're probably looking at a Lynham, Inglis, Widdop, Curry edge that they're going to have to defend against, or maybe a King edge as well. That's a lot of concern Darryl Powell's going to have, especially after giving up that half-time lead and Warrington finding their way back to be within a try of the Huddersfield Giants.
That is very, very true. And add to Warrington's, Ratchford's been playing good as well. So Warrington have been playing good all over the field. And
the slow start is what the Wolves need to address.
Yes.
Because they let Huddersfield put 3 tries on them straight up. If they do the same thing against Castleford, this could get ugly.
It could. But if Castleford capitalise on the Warrington slow start, if they do have a slow start, it could be a blowout score and the Warriors might not be able to catch up. But then again, they could. So I'm going to say Castleford in a 1-12 margin.
I'm going to go Warrington in a 1-12 margin. I think they will address that slow start, regardless of how they line up. And I think in front of a capped crowd of 4,000 Warrington supporters, I think they'll have an edge.
Fair enough.
Now, the game that will be shown on Sky Sports via Fox League in Australia and New Zealand, the Catalan Dragons hosting St. Helens in the south of France.
Now, this will be, well, you'd think it might be a runaway score, but the rate that Catalans played against Hull FC, could be a different story.
This is going to be a tight call. I think after Catalan's confidence-boosting win against Hull FC, that they were able to get up over the top of what was basically a war in the trenches, to come up against practically the number one side in both attack and defence.
And who's in the league of their own.
Yes, I think this will be a very entertaining clash. A lot of tries scored, but I think St. Helens will just come away a 1-12.
It's definitely going to be entertaining, and like you said, a lot of tries will be scored because we know that Catalans have got
some very good ball players, a lot of strike weapons on the edges.
And St. Helens, they just got...
They're the number one. They are numero uno of the Betfred Super League.
Yes, they're just class all over the field. I don't know if they go for an upset or will just St. Helens be too strong. I'm going to say I think St. Helens will be that too strong and win in a 1-12 margin.
Definitely a bell ringer either way.
Yes.
Now, of our Sunday games, which is Monday down here, Wakefield Trinity are at home for the first time against Hull Kingston Rovers. Well, the closeness of that last result against Leeds Wakefield and Hull KR's confidence-boosting win, I'm going to have to say the Robins win here, 13+. I just think Wakefield really can't throw anything at anyone at the moment.
Well, Hull KR are playing good as well. Unlike Hull KR upset Castleford. So they're going into this match full of confidence. As for Wakefield, they came so close of beating Leeds, but Leeds haven't had the best of seasons either. You have to factor that in. See, if Wakefield continue on how they played last week, they could give it to Hull KR as a bit of a scare. But Hull KR will be too good. But I reckon Hull KR win a 1-12 margin.
So you think Wakefield will try and be up for the fight at home for the first time? I'm in front of the home crowd.
Yeah.
All right. Meanwhile, the Leeds Centurions are also at home again, this time against the Huddersfield Giants. Well, the Giants, they got to be riding high after picking off their second win of the season and against one of last year's top three sides.
It's always a good boost to have coming again, having a win against one like the previous year's top three sides, like Warrington. Coming against Lee, they're struggling, so I think I know where this result's going to go.
I think the Giants have now found their formula, and I think they're going to run out 13+ winners here.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Lee, they've just... I don't know, it's hard to describe how Lee are going. I just haven't got
the squad.
I haven't got enough star players and playmaking players and all that. Nothing against the team that I've got now.
Or John Duffy. It's not personal. It's just it's an objective fact that Lee were always going to struggle.
They were. So it'll be Huddersfield 13+.
And finally, the game to be shown on Sky Sports, with the South Sand Band back for the first time in over a year, the Leeds Rhinos up against Hull FC.
Well. Leeds, they did win last week, only just. And Hull FC, they lost. So it could... I don't know about this one. If Leeds can match it with Hull FC, we might get another close contest like Leeds were in last week. But if Hull get the early ball and dominate for the first 20 minutes of the match, it's going to be a shutout.
The left edge of Hull FC really needs to stand up because they let McMeekin through and then they let Tom Davies through right on the touchline. So they'll have to really tighten up that between Swift, Griffin, Sneed, and of course I think it was still at the time Jordan Lane on the left edge for Hull FC. So Brett Hodgson will really have to look at his edge defence on that side because he will have to try and contain Conrad Hurrell and Luke Briscoe down that right-hand side, either the Leeds attack. I just think the influence of Luke Gale, it will really put to the test here that even though he's back, coming up against a spine of Connor, Reynolds, Sneed and Houghton that have been in good touch.
They have been. I'd say Hull FC to win a 112 margin. I'd say 112 margin because I'm going to base it off Leeds going with Hull FC throughout the match. But I'm still going to say Hull FC to win.
Well, recent form at Emerald Headingley, he has not been in Leeds' favour, both against Hull FC and other matches. Is whether Hull have turned a corner or whether Leeds have turned a corner, it's hard to say, isn't it?
It very much is. It could be like a flip of a coin.
Well,
but your overall prediction?
I think, despite Hull are looking for a bounce back and improved defence down their left side, I think the fact that Leeds will finally have their first home game with crowds there, they'll have the South Stand band going possibly.
That's right.
I think Leeds sneak away with this 1-12.
Because Leeds didn't have the crowds
last
week, so hopefully the ground might be a factor for them to get over the line over Hull FC, but we have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see on Monday morning.
Yes.
All right. Well, that is full time from us here. If you liked this two-parter episode for this week, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the Sideline Chat podcast so you never miss a week of rugby league. Hope you enjoy this week's action, and next week, Mark and I will be talking about our State of Origin lineups for Game 1 as it's only 2 weeks away.
Very, very exciting times. State versus state, mate versus mate, rivalries against each other. Who knows? It's going to be a classic series yet again.
Well, all of that to look forward to. Alongside Mark Henry, I am Connor Marcellus, and you are listening to the Sideline Chat podcast. We'll see you next week.
Will do.